Thylacinus cynocephalus. The carnivorous marsupial, better known as the thylacine or Tasmanian tiger, once ranged across mainland Australia and Tasmania. Mainland populations vanished during the Holocene, while survivors persisted in Tasmania into the era of European settlement. From 1888 to 1909, European settlers, sheep farmers, and the Tasmanian government ran a bounty program that paid for pelts and carcasses, accelerating a grim decline that was compounded by habitat loss from land clearing. The last confirmed captive, commonly called Benjamin, died at Hobart Zoo on September 7, 1936, and his death became a potent symbol of extinction. That moment birthed the central question that still haunts us. Was Benjamin truly the last? And why do reported sightings and controversy persist to this day? Hobart Zoo Ledgers, Tasmanian Archives, correspondence, keeper logs, and a Mercury report from September 7, 1936 combined to create a compact, chilling record. A thylacine died in captivity on September 7, 1936 at Hobart Zoo in the Queen's Domain, officially recorded as the last. Keeper logs filed with the Hobart City Council list feeding schedules, wound treatments, and a sudden decline. But entries conflict on times and cage numbers, and the death certificate in state files gives an ambiguous cause. Requests to the Tasmanian Museum and Art Gallery and letters from the Chief Secretary show frantic interest in the skin and skeleton for museums, yet accession and inventory entries are incomplete. Newspaper obituaries declared extinction. Maybe clicking subscribe would have saved them. Archival correspondence reveals delayed transfers, missing photos, and a morgue tag that never surfaces, seeding a stark doubt that the paperwork captured the whole, brutal story. After Benjamin's death on September 7, 1936, thousands of thylacine sightings were reported across Tasmania, especially in the west, the Tarkine, Strahan, and around Macquarie Harbour. Eyewitnesses ranged from farmers and police to bushmen, many describing a dog-like animal with a striped rump and a stiff tail. Other claims rested on grainy photos, dubious 8mm films, and alleged roadkill. When biologists from the Parks and Wildlife Service and the University of Tasmania inspected those cases, the animals proved to be feral dogs, eastern quolls or Tasmanian devils. Hotspots on the west coast and in the Tarkine kept drawing reports and organized searches by the Parks and Wildlife Service, DPIPWE, Department of Primary Industries, Parks, Water, and Environment. The University of Tasmania and private groups used camera traps and track surveys. Campaigns from the 70s through the 2000s raised desperate hopes but produced no verifiable specimen. The IUCN listed the thylacine extinct in 1986, priming a grim turn toward Act 3. Scientists turned to modern forensics. Deoxyribonucleic acid sequencing of museum skins and bones from the Tasmanian Museum and Art Gallery and the Australian Museum produced mitochondrial genomes and fragments of nuclear DNA. Those results clarified haplotypes and relationships, but they could not prove the species survived after 1936. Environmental DNA, spelled eDNA, surveys in streams, peat and soil across the Tarkine and the west coast, run by teams from the University of Tasmania and the Department of Primary Industries, Parks, Water and Environment, can register fleeting traces of DNA. But eDNA is vulnerable to degradation, contamination, and a lack of contemporary reference sequences, so it can suggest presence without delivering definitive proof. Remote camera traps and acoustic monitors deployed by the Parks and Wildlife Service and private groups recorded ambiguous silhouettes, feral dogs and devils, not the signature striped rump. The breaking point came when a high-profile, contested eDNA detection from West Tasmanian waterways made headlines. Independent replications returned null results and exposed contamination, forcing scientists to confront the macabre limits of proof. A comprehensive Tasmanian government report from DPIPWE, the Department of Primary Industries, Parks, Water and Environment, published alongside a controversial peer-reviewed paper that reanalyzed museum skins and disputed eDNA from Western Tasmanian waterways, tore the mystery wide open. The government concluded there was no verifiable post-1936 specimen, while the paper reported faint genetic traces that were later accused of contamination. Savage headlines in the Mercury and other national outlets followed. Emergency hearings were convened in Hobart, and blistering scientific rebuttals ensued. The macabre publicity gutted public trust, forced officials to choose between grim closure and expensive renewed searches, and turned Tasmanian identity into a bitter, sometimes bloody debate. The grisly legend of Benjamin reshaped Tasmanian identity, turning Hobart Zoo and the Tasmanian Museum and Art Gallery into haunting tourist draws and forcing museums to tighten specimen records and documentation. The DPIPWE, Tasmania's Department of Primary Industries, Parks, Water and Environment, controversy reframed global debates over declaring extinctions, the ethics and funding of de-extinction, and prompted stricter monitoring, environmental DNA best practices, and dedicated survey funding. The Thylacine's tragic end calls for archival vigilance and scientific humility. How many other species are waiting in the shadows?